What is going on, guys? Jason Burke here, Styles Clash for Life, coming at you on YouTube, and today I've got another edition of TV Talk, where I go over a recently released TV series and tell you guys whether you should watch it, wait for it, or skip it altogether. Today I've got one that is near and dear to my heart because it is reminiscent of a classic. It is another one of these spin-off, reboot, kind of remake things, but this one works really, really well. I'm talking about the first season, the 2019 season of Jordan Peele's executive-produced Twilight Zone. Now, in 2019, Jordan Peele executive produced and was heavily involved in and did the narrations for the Twilight Zone remake, which aired on CBS All Access, which is a subscription service for CBS. I think it's like $6 a month, between $4 and $6 a month. They don't have a whole lot of original content, but they do have some shows. I picked it up on free preview just to watch Season 1 of the Twilight Zone. Now, those of you guys that know the Twilight Zone, you know it was a late 50s to early 60s show. I think it ran for 7 or 8 seasons, with host and executive producer Rod Serling, which is now the role Jordan Peele has taken over. I had to watch it because I love the original. The original series is the best. Again, it ran for 7 or 8 seasons. Went away for a while. I think it came back another time in the 80s. It was redone for a couple of years in the 80s. Came back again in like the early 2000s and ran for another 2 or 3 seasons, and then came back again in 2019. Never really watched much of the remakes. I didn't watch any of the 80s or the 2000s series, but I do love the original 59 through 65 or whatever it is series. Big fan of Rod Serling. I love horror anthologies in general, right? Horror anthologies can't really miss. Anytime you've got a 20 to 40 minute original story every single week, blanketed by a narration with a wrapper around it from this kind of different realm, it always wins, right? Whether it's Are You Afraid of the Dark, or Goosebumps, or Tales from the Crypt, or Twilight Zone, or Night Gallery, or Tales from the Dark Side. Any of these things are great. Even the new ones that have been released in the last 10 years, like Masters of Horror, Fear Itself, these things are always win-wins. And the Twilight Zone used to be like a 22-minute episode wrapped around by Rod Serling's narration of some kind of otherworldly sci-fi horror story that would happen in this nether realm, the Twilight Zone, where the realistic crossed over with the surrealistic and made into a different anthology every single week. And now, with the CBS series, with Jordan Peele narrating and executive producing, it was like 42-minute episodes. Some were like 35 minutes, some were like 50, but it was around like 42 to 45-minute episodes, with Jordan Peele doing the opening narration in the Rod Serling spot. And it was season 1 was 10 episodes, and then season 2 just came out about 2 weeks ago, which made me realize that I had not yet seen season 1. I had been dying to go back for the last year and watch season 1. I had never gotten a chance to watch it, so I went back and watched season 1 and season 2 in the past like 10 days. I marathoned both seasons. I'll be bringing you guys the season 2 review in the next couple of days, but for today I want to talk about the 10 episodes in season 1. So I'm just going to briefly touch on each one of these 10 episodes, and all in all, I thought this was a very good opening season. I loved this season overall. I thought Jordan Peele was great in his role. There were different writers and directors for every episode, but they mostly had the same production team, the same kind of lights, sound, stuff like that. Same kind of background team. All in all, of the 10 episodes, I enjoyed 7 of them. And there were 3 that I didn't enjoy as much, but I think 7 good episodes out of 10 is pretty solid. I love how they modernized some of the old episodes. Some of these ideas are brand new and kind of meant for the modern world. Other ones are taken from the 50s and 60s episodes and modernized into 42-minute modern episodes, where they took elements from the originals and remade them into current-day horror specials, which I really enjoyed. Episode 1, The Comedian. Basically, the story of that is a comedian who has dedicated his life to doing this, but he really can't get any fame. He's not getting any laughs. He's bombing in his acts, and he essentially kind of sells his soul as he performs. And again, there will be some spoilers, I guess, so if you guys have not seen 2019's season 1, go back and watch those. I will be spoiling elements of the episodes in season 1. This comedian can't make it happen, so he starts to kind of write down jokes about people in his life. He meets a comedian, and he tells him that he wants to be successful. And this comedian basically, he writes down people and elements in his real life, and as he tells jokes about them, the audience loves them. He gets crazy amount of laughs, he gets fame, he gets money, but the people that he talks about on stage, once he mentions them, they no longer exist. They disappear from his world. So, very cool comic-centered episode there. I really enjoyed that. Episode 2 was one of my favorites of the season, Nightmare at 30,000 Feet, which is taken from the 50s and 60s series. Basically, this guy is on a plane listening to a podcast of when that exact airplane crashed down. So he's listening to this half-an-hour podcast in real time, and he's realizing that he's the key to trying to stop this plane from crashing, and nobody else realizes it. So there's a murder mystery kind of situation there where he's trying to solve how he can stop this plane from crashing in retrospect. So a really cool episode there. Episode 3 is Replay. It is a pretty good, really relevant story about today's situation, where it is a black family of a mom she has an old camera, and as she records, when she goes to press rewind, she goes back in time and kind of relives things and stops things from happening. She comes across a racist white cop. It's a black family with a racist white cop, and no matter how nice she is to this cop or where the family goes, the cop stops them, tracks them down, tries to find a bad reason to kill or arrest them. So she uses this old family heirloom camera to go back and stop this white cop from being racist and being evil, basically. Number 4 was A Traveler. And one thing I wrote down was Anna Lily Amirpour directed this. She is the director of A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night, the surrealistic vampire modern film, which is excellent. I love her directing work in that, and I love her directing work in this. A Traveler is a really fun one here. I didn't write down details to this one, so I'm forgetting. Oh, okay, so it's basically in this Alaskan town for Christmas. The jail warden always pardons somebody. Well, this guy shows up out of nowhere asking to be pardoned. This guy knows some town secrets, and there's kind of a Russian spy aspect to it. It's a really fun story. I like that one. Episode 5 is The Wonderkind, where a political campaign manager basically starts to fail his clients. So he goes and kind of finds this wonderkind, this young boy with great ideas, and gets the world to elect him president, but the boy gets power hungry and he's immature, and his true side comes out, so the guy gets what he wants, but it kind of turns evil on him. Episode 6 is 6 Degrees of Freedom. This was my least favorite one of the series. I couldn't really get through this episode. It was very sci-fi heavy, spaceship heavy. They were using a lot of space terms and stuff like that, and kind of focusing so much on the technology that I felt the story wasn't progressing the way I'd have liked. They got kind of lost in the spaceship kind of space jargon, and I didn't really connect with the characters in this one very much. Episode 7 is my personal favorite. It's called Not All Men. It's a pretty good modern take on basically these men. A meteor crashes down on Earth, and these men get exposed to this little blood that gets soaked up in the water, and the men start getting aggressive, angry, sexually, just kind of being very, fight heavy, bloodthirsty, attacking women, stuff like that. So it is a political Jordan Peele style statement about men and how they treat women and the excuses they make and the effects of. There's some sci-fi mixed in with this real life horror, and it's just a very well told story. And again, I'm trying not to spoil major plot points or the endings, just kind of the summary of the episodes. Episode 8, Point of Origin. I wasn't really big on this one. Didn't take too many notes on this one. I think this is the one where this woman has a babysitter kind of come over, and she's about to move into a school district with her son, and she kind of gets deported by this weird company that is monitoring people, and there's a second worldly kind of thing where they exist in one plane and also exist in another plane where there's somebody different. So I wasn't really all that big on that one. Episode 9, The Blue Scorpion, was the last one I wasn't big on. That was, I believe, a guy's father gets killed, and he kind of has this evil gun that he has to track down and see why his father got murdered, and there's clones of him. Again, kind of the story when it gets overly sci-fi and overly based on terminology and cloning and doppelganger and stuff like that, it kind of loses my interest, so this one wasn't for me, but it wasn't a bad episode. And then number 10 was a really good standout called Blurry Man, where they break the fourth wall, they break character. Jordan Peele breaks from the usual format of giving the little Twilight Zone spiel at the beginning, and the writer of the episode stars in it, and Jordan Peele stars in it, where they're writing a real life narrative for the writer herself, who's tasked with writing the cue cards for the episode, gets haunted by this blurry man and kind of gets sucked into the past. It is a big homage to Rod Serling and the old Twilight Zone, where there's some black and white, there's some references to the original. It is a great season finale to wrap around and pay homage to its predecessors and to Rod Serling, who created the original series. So all in all, again, I didn't care for episodes 6, 8, and 9. So it started very strong, fizzled out a little toward the end, but had a great season finale. My favorite episodes, my top 3 in this very good first season, were episode 7, Not All Men. My second favorite was episode 3, Replay, and my third favorite was episode 2, Nightmare at 30,000 Feet. So, again, nice homages to the original, nice source material, modernized and adapted for the real world. These 40-minute episodes flew by. Jordan Peele did a great job. The acting was solid. There was a lot of celebrity cameo castings in this. There was references to the original episodes. It felt like I was watching the old school series without dragging or being dull at all. I really liked the blend of modernizing and nostalgia. These anthologies are can't miss. I love Season 1. Spoiler alert, I'll be reviewing Season 2 probably today and then posting it in the next few days. So you guys will follow up on my channel in a couple days for that one. I love Season 2 as well. I want to see more of these. I want to bring back more old shows like this. I think Jordan Peele's a genius. I love the team and the individual directors that he got on this. We're seeing a lot of young talent budding in this, a lot of strong female directors, a lot of topical governmental political statements without being too ham-fisted. I really enjoyed this season, and I hope you guys liked it too. I'm going to give Season 1 an 8 out of 10. Did you guys like this season? And if so, what are your favorite and least favorite episodes? What did you like about the adaptation? What other episodes from the original do you want to see being done in future seasons of The Twilight Zone? Tell me these things in the comments below. This has been TV Talk, and I will see you guys probably in a few minutes here with my Season 2 review. Take care.